Back in the day, fancy cars were about being fancy. They looked different, they drove different. Hell, if you've ever been one of these, they smelled different. Somewhat intoxicating, but they did indeed smell different. And as a result, you kind of used them for different purposes. That's changed over the past, I want to say 20, 30 years, and now it's gotten to the point where fancy cars are practical, even to the point of highly fuel efficient. So let's drive something that's sort of fancy, that's very fuel efficient, and really practical. Okay, so back in Seattle and back on a ferry again, so let's kick this off. Another crossover in a stunning place. So this one, let's see, depending on when you saw this, this is the hybrid, so we're going to change this one around. Say goodbye to the nice people at the Bainbridge Island Ferry here. Gotta tell you, man, this is a beautiful part of the world here. Remember when I sat in this very spot when we drove the internal combustion engine version of the UX? I told you all about structure and how the grand Toyota empire is copying ideas from other car manufacturers like Hyundai, Kia, Lotus, BMW. Well, here's one that I kind of sandbagged you on. The hood, the fenders, and the doors are all aluminum. So I guess they're also copying Morgan. Now all we need is some wood. Okay, so we're away from the ferry terminal, sort of in town here, as in town as you're going to get in Bainbridge Island, Washington, which is a stunning place to be. So let's test this thing out as it was intended to be, which is around town. Remember, hybrid, which really is the more sporty, powerful of the two. Let's put our foot into it. Plenty of power. Very similar, I would argue more seamless than the Cadillac that we drove, and this has two propulsion systems. Okay, so let's come to a stop here and let's try this again from a complete standstill again. This is about as much traffic as we're going to get here in Bainbridge Island. Put our foot into it. And this is, I'm trying to do this to get the all-wheel drive system to work. As we talked about in the tech review, how the all-wheel drive system, it's, the only way to describe this is it's kind of like a baby P1. Granted, not nearly as cool or powerful, but the concept is the same. And you don't notice, I'm driving this thing around town, stop, start. We had maybe top speed of 55 miles an hour on one road. You don't feel the thing going on and off. Granted, we haven't had inclement weather, but you just don't feel it back there. And this is more a function of acceleration that I'm looking for here right now than driving dynamics. There are some important numbers that are germane to the discussion of the UX hybrid. So that all-wheel drive system we talked about in the tech review. That is an electric motor and it puts out a whopping 7 horsepower. That works up to 43 miles an hour and then just shuts off when the car is front-wheel drive. Just as an aside, I live in California. I am not a practical human being. For those of you that live in like Minnesota, like northern tundra of Canada, or like Finland, is that a problem? The engine or the electric motor turning off at 43 miles an hour? What is a real use case of that being a problem? Let me know in the comments below. Think of this as like, I'm looking for real world feedback. Then there's like a smart ecosystem for the overall hybrid system. Previous Lexus hybrid systems, it could shut the gasoline engine off up to 43 miles an hour. This newest derivation can shut the gasoline engine off up to 71 miles an hour. Then there's the actual motors themselves are changed in the placement. Instead of being like next to each other, they're kind of mounted this way. So the packaging makes the transmission and the whole housing of the electric motor, it makes it more narrow to make more room to package it inside of a smaller vehicle. It is a hybrid. There is an EV mode. We've got one hell of a hill here, so let's see if the EV mode works. We're in EV mode, put our foot into it. I'm not gonna really bury it because I want to try to force it to stay in electric and see what speed I can get to. 13? Cut off at 13 miles an hour. Well, at least we experimented. Let's put our foot into it, understand driving dynamics. Now, we talked about in the tech review that this, yes, it's a hybrid, and that's a police car, so we don't want to go too fast here, and hopefully that doesn't work. And now he's coming out. That's not good. Uh-oh. I'm getting pulled over.
I can give you a ticket for speeding today.
Was I speeding? I thought it was because I was trying to get the car in EV mode in the middle of the road.
No, you're definitely, you're going 50. It's 30 up the whole hill.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So, I know that you've got to put the cars to their paces to kind of do a review and all that. The only spot on the island y'all can go 50, 55 is the highway.
Okay.
There's no real good twists and turns on the island.
Okay.
So,
that's good to know. I appreciate the flexibility, sir. Thank you so much.
Keep it slow, all right?
Totally understand. It's kind of, the funny part is, it's a hybrid. And I get pulled over for speeding in a hybrid.
There's some back there. You stop down real slow, and then you gunned it up the hill.
Okay, man.
If you're trying to put it in EVSI, you drop down to 17.
I was trying to get it to what speed does it switch over from EV to, and that's where apparently we found out, you and I together.
Found out.
We now know. Thank you, sir.
Right.
I appreciate what you do.
Take care.
Thanks. Okay. Officer, sergeant, I don't know what his rank, but he's the man, and he gave us general idea of where we should be taking the car and where we can drive fast. Now that is awesome police work. Thank you for what you guys do. Okay, so back again. This is one of the only curves on the island. What we need to understand here is the impact of that extra 300 pounds we talked about in the tech review. And really that penalty is not huge when you consider you've got two propulsion systems, and here is a third electric motor hanging out in the back. And judging at the speed I'm at, and I'm not going to speed because let's just say it's not a good idea to speed on Bainbridge Island. I found that out the hard way. The road is a little less perfect down here as we look at this stunning vista with the ferry going back to Seattle. And the big thing you notice is the packaging of the hybrid system, the two motors in the front, what we talked about, where it's packaged one on top of each other as opposed to two next to each other, and then the electric motor sitting in the back of this all-wheel drive system. It's all very low in the car, so when you get onto pavement like this where it's not perfect, you're not feeling a lot of pitch, squat, dive, and roll. It's not like moving you around, especially as we go around some runners here. Be nice to runners. Thank you very much. And this is kind of a trend you and I have been seeing as of late. The packaging of these hybrid systems, they used to be 800 pounds, 1,000 pounds, and they went down to 500 pounds. Here we are at 300 pounds, and the impact of the, what is this? Is this a deer? Yeah, and he has no fear of our Urban Explorer Lexus. Look at this. He's just chilling. I think it's because we're driving a green car. Yes, it's small, and yes, it's sort of a luxury car, but practicality is absolutely the main reason for being at the UX. That absolutely extends to storage capacity. However, there are two flavors on offer of storage capacity depending on the propulsion system. So there's the internal combustion engine version, the 200, and that's 21.7 cubic feet of storage. Sounds good. But then there's the hybrid. One would think the batteries would take up some of the trunk, but that's not the case. And just as an aside here, remember that Avalon hybrid we drove a couple of months back? That had a nickel metal hydride battery, where the ES kind of sister car has a lithium ion battery, thinking it's, well, the better battery goes into a Lexus. Things get confusing because the battery in the UX hybrid is nickel metal hydride in the same place underneath the back seat. So then why is there less storage, 17.1 cubic feet, in the back of the hybrid? That's because of the packaging of the all-wheel drive system and the electric motor that drives it. So my good friend Jason, formerly of the California Republic, now of the greater Detroit area, he is driving the car today. And I don't know how that happened because he's a major motorcycle guy, not a hybrid guy. But he's here anyway and he's helping us, and that means you and I could be somewhat practical. So this is where a 6-footer would be. This is where I put the seat. Now I will say I sandbagged it a little bit by putting the seat back a little bit forward to give myself some knee room here. Now, full disclosure, I did speak with some folks at Lexus. They're not trying to sell this thing as you're going to put 3 adult-sized children back here or even your adult friends. This is like part-time use, let's say that. This is more for small children, or really this kind of vehicle is targeted towards impractical people like myself. Now there are some practical bits that are perfect for the Jill Simonellas of the world. It passes her test because there are 2 USB ports back here. Makes for a total of 4 when you consider the 2 in the front. Then there's an armrest back here with 2 cup holders, and then there is a middle headrest. That's a nice touch. I think that's a huge thing that is regulated by governments at this point. Don't quote me on that because I don't know which government has weighed in on this. I will say there's some deja vu going on here, and the deja vu is this car is based, as I told you in the tech review, off the global architecture compact for Toyota. And what that translates to is it very much feels like we're sitting in the back of that Corolla again, because that really is the platform. It's usable, but it ain't no ES or LS. I've been doing this a long time, which is why I am stunned that I'm about to tell you what I'm about to tell you. And yes, I have given serious thought to seeking out medical and/or psychiatric help, but here goes. The hybrid, it's the better choice. Now yes, in previous Lexus episodes, I've told you the hybrid is in the hunt, but I've never explicitly said the hybrid is better. Here, in the case of the UX, it's black and white, it's night and day, whatever you want to call it, yin and yang. The hybrid is the better choice. Now this could have been a different result if Lexus decided to bless the UX200 with real gears, leaving the CVT for the hybrid, but that is not the case. And as such, it's not just the fact that the hybrid has a little bit more power or all-wheel drive, it's the entire package has come together for a better driving experience, especially for what it's intended to do. So yes, I need to spend some time with Kumo and make sure I am going to get through this patch here of hybrids are better, but I'm going to turn this around to you. Is there a reason you would choose the UX200 over the UX250h? In other words, is it a money thing, or you just don't want the second propulsion system, or you don't want the all-wheel drive system? I don't know what. I'm kind of in a daze because I didn't think this would be the result. Anyway, let me know in the comments below, or if you're on social media, MotoManTV all word, MotoManTV all word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And until I see you next time, I am going to call my doctor and see if I can get an appointment. So with that, bis später.